This is Rob Cornish with HomeXam, a home inspection company in Ottawa, Canada. And I'm here with Jessica Davidson, a professional painter who is going to give us a few tips on how we can dress up our houses so they help us sell them efficiently. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
I am excellent. Glad to have you here with us today. When people are selling a house, paint certainly makes a good first impression. Maybe you can comment from your experience on that regard.
Yes, the first impression when you're trying to sell a home is crucial because you only really have one chance to do that first impression.
So some of those colors that might be a little punchier on the front door or the frames around things help make a good impression from the curb?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
A nice clean finish. It doesn't need to super pop. It doesn't need to do anything like that. Just a freshly painted door is fine. A pop of color is very trendy right now. We see a lot of blacks, a lot of dark browns, dark grays, even reds coming back out. So, yeah, it depends on your brick too. You kind of want to match that.
So there are designers and stagers that will give you input in terms of colors overall. Is that something you do, or you have some thoughts to offer on interior colors?
I definitely always recommend a color consultant or a stager to come by and give the homeowners a little bit of help with choosing colors.
Right. So you get complementary colors that aren't too far out in left field or too avant-garde for most of the buyers that are coming through.
Yeah, exactly. You want to stick to neutral colors. I usually, if people if they want to choose their colors themselves, I usually recommend going for a warm gray, like a taupey gray, something not too cold. There is a nice color by Dulux that I use a lot. It's called Designer Gray, and it looks taupey, but it also looks gray depending on what is next to it, and it looks really great.
Great. So that has a lot of range to it to complement most interiors.
Yeah, something neutral, something light, something that opens up the space. It's great.
Okay. What tips would you have for people who are going to try and tackle this themselves?
In terms of like painting?
Yes.
I would say definitely choose very high quality paint. That's important, something that covers well.
As a professional painter, you can come in and get a lot of work done in a hurry. Maybe you can give some people out there an idea of what kind of scale they're dealing with if they start with a touch-up on some of the trim outside, or if they want to do multiple rooms inside. How long does that take for a professional to do?
It takes us not very much time at all compared to a homeowner to do it themselves. We don't use tape, we freehand, and the reason is tape kind of makes you lazy. It can make people a little bit more messy. And a freehand, if you're practiced and you're skilled at it, freehand actually makes a straighter line. Then you don't get those little kind of
jogs.
Tape marks, the jagged edges. And tape also bleeds, so when you tear it off, you'll see that sometimes the paint will bleed under it. It doesn't take us much time at all.
Okay. So if you were doing, let's say, an average size room, how long would that take?
Well, every room depends on the size and the different colors as well, but it usually takes us about 4 to 6 hours per bedroom, and that's a 10 by 10. You also have to let the paint dry in between. So usually what we would do, we'd paint the first coat in one bedroom, and then the first coat in another bedroom, and then come back a couple hours later to do the second coat in the first bedroom, and then the second coat in the second bedroom. Okay. And we could do about 2 rooms per painter if the rooms are small. If the rooms are big, then it takes a little longer than that.
Okay. And you're going to put down drop cloths and things like that and move furniture out of the way so that Grandma's heirloom seating is not ruined, dining tables, those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. So usually when we come into a job site, we take everything off the walls, all the picture frames. We double check with the homeowner if they want to keep certain pictures in the right spots. So we'll mark with a little sticky note which holes to keep in and which holes, and if there is no sticky note on there, we just fill them in and paint over it. And we put drop cloths everywhere. we take the furniture out, and if it's too big furniture, we stick it in the middle and put plastic over it. If it's a big bed, we put plastic over it. And we make sure that we don't get paint anywhere. That's pretty important.
Okay. So that's one of the benefits of using the pros is it's liable to be a much tidier process.
Yeah, tidier process, and you don't need to buy as many tools. We bring all the tools in, and we take our tools out, so you don't need to store any big ladders or big scaffolding, stuff like that. So.
Okay. Quality of paint. It's easy to say you should use a good quality paint, but for a layperson out there, how do you tell if it's a good quality paint, or are there 2 or 3 brands that are just head and shoulders above the rest?
You can go with any type of brand. I prefer to use Dulux brands because I'm used to them, and they've never not done the job properly. Benjamin Moore colors are great. Benjamin Moore paints are great. The only thing is Benjamin Moore costs a little bit more. But best bang for your buck, I'd go with Dulux paints. The cheap paints, the reason why they're cheaper is because they have less pigment, or they might have less binders, or they might have less additives. And you need pigments, binders, and additives to make sure it covers well, make sure it is scrubbable. And I know we've used Homeowners, sometimes they provide their own paint, and we've used dark accent colors that were very inexpensive, and when we rubbed on them, it could change the color completely. So you want to make sure they're scrubbable, that they cover well, and that they last a while.
So in various houses, you've got to prepare the walls properly to make sure the paint adheres, and dings and nicks are touched up and that kind of thing. Maybe you could talk about the steps you take to prepare a wall properly, and what issues come up with different types of paint that might be there from years past.
Yeah, so sometimes prep can be most of the work. If it's an exterior job, we have to scrape all the peeling paint down, make sure that there's no air bubbles underneath. And then once we scrape it all down, we have to prime it to make sure that the paint will adhere to the surface. And once it's all primed, and then we paint over that.
Okay.
If it's oil-based, you cannot paint water-based products over that. You need to prime it first. The reason why is because water does not go on oil, and it will just peel right off. It does not adhere to the oil surface. So that's very, very important that you prime it before painting over oil, if you're painting with water-based.
So if you don't paint it any bump or scratch, you're going to take right off to the color beneath.
Yes. And I remember there was one client that we were painting, or we actually came in and they called us because their walls were peeling. I said, that's so strange. I wonder if they painted water over oil. We got in there and we had to pull down. We just pulled on it, and the paint just came right off because the previous painters did not prime before painting.
So it was just like a second skin that came right off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, so investing in a little bit of good preparation is a good idea.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess you see some doors and trim, that kind of thing, that have taken a beating over the years. I guess it's important to scrub them and make sure that they're clean enough that paint can adhere as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably why people use semi-gloss in their doors and their baseboards, because it's very scrubbable. You can wash them down, and semi-gloss is more durable than eggshell, pearl, or matte. So that's why, another reason why people used to paint their bathrooms and kitchens with semi-gloss paint, because you can just wash it. It can last a while, even if you bang it and bang it up. Now they actually have kitchen and bath paint, so it has a sheen that looks like eggshell, but it lasts just as long as an oil-based or semi-gloss, which is great.
So, Jessica, do you have any tips for do-it-yourselfers who are going to tackle this as a project themselves?
go with the high quality of paint. It'll cover better. It'll look better. Tools, you want to get good types of tools. I usually use brushes with Purdy on them. They're called Purdy brushes. That's the brand name. There's different types of brushes you can get. There's brushes for oil-based paints, brushes for water-based paint, and you want to, if you're using water-based paint, use the water-based paint brushes. Extension poles, if you don't want to buy extension poles, you can actually use the broomstick. You could just take off the bottom of the broomstick and then use that to...
Oh, that's a good tip. Okay.
Yeah. There's tons of little things like that that just find around the house.
Jessica, there are different types of rollers out there, different thicknesses of the nap, or however you want to refer to it. What are your recommendations for use?
Depends where you're using the roller. If you're using the roller inside in a residential home, 10 millimeter works very well. 5 millimeters is almost too small for the walls, but 10 millimeter gives a good finish.
So the extra thickness allows you to carry more paint and fill in those crevices.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And if you're painting brick, you'd want to use at least a 15 millimeter. You could also go up to 20 or 25 as well, but that's getting pretty thick.
What about special paints for painting over ceilings and popcorn finishes and that kind of thing? Do you need a thicker nap for that, and are there special paints?
For you don't need any special paint for stipple. You can just use regular ceiling paint, but a thicker nap for the stipple is a good idea as well.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Appreciate those comments today. We hope that our listeners will have a better experience because of the knowledge you've shared with them.
Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate it.